What's up, Party Royale? My name's Sundown, and joined by the fantastic, as always, Clay Stelling to call the action.
It was a ridiculously hyped day number one. Every single game had such big ramifications on the leaderboard. And now we have 6 final games for everybody here. And it could not be any closer going into day number 2.
Yeah, and looking at it in particular, if you're just joining us, whether it is in Party Royale on Twitch, YouTube, wherever you are watching or hopping on board here with our #1 team, the analysts covered it at the start as well, where they finished second place, or at least Snacky and Kenshi have in the previous 2 FNCSs. The addition of Babs here now, I mean, they looked really solid on day 1. The match 3 victory royale was really what pushed them through. They also had 3 double-digit elimination games, all of which were top 4 finishes, and their weakest games, I think, is the biggest part play, which has separated them, were all inside placement thresholds. They got into that top 23 and they got into that top 17, which is where you need to eke out these points if you want to beat Epic Whale.
But the momentum from that victory royale for Epic Whale, Arkham, and Rex, we saw carried through into game number 6, and they were able to put some points down elsewhere. As we take a look at where that zone's going, and Kelly talked about how the zone kind of really favorited Arkham, Epic Whale, and Rex, and anybody in that northern region, and if you see it again, it's going to favor them. You don't have to worry about rotating that far out of their initial drop. And one thing for Fab, Snacky, and Kenshi that they had going for them is that they got a lot of llamas yesterday, so it was pretty good to always have that chug cannon. Oh, wait a minute, no Fab. We're going to get tagged up really, really low, and oh no, that's going to be the signal to go ahead and go in. That team chunk them down very low, but again, the chug cannon going to save them for now. Can they get away? They may have to waste that launch pad.
And really, the name of the game here is just don't get picked off early on. You need to get away in this situation, and yes, you feel bad about doing it, but getting the launch pad, at least, and as I say that, you can see Snacky and Kenshi come riding over the hills. They say, no, Fabs, you are safe. You don't have to invest anything into that. And honestly, this is probably okay for them. You see Kenshi, it's more than okay. Kenshi gets a knock for the Curio, and they're going.
All of a sudden, it turned right around. Fabs is back in the fight. Ohava, unfortunately, about to go down here. Snacky going to do it, and that's why they're on top right now, because they can turn a bad situation into something so net positive. And you see the other teammate just ran away. They did not want to be involved with that at all. They decided, hey, just not worth our time. And honestly, for Fabs, Kenshi, and Snacky, this is so great.
This is exactly how you want to start off day 2. With 2 eliminations, getting that down. You're not going to have to worry about Storm Surge. Make it flip over on the other side. The Cube, Nate, and Veil trying to put pressure down onto Eclipse, Poppy, and Caesar. It'll be interesting to see if they're able to resolve this fight, because not a ton going on in the inventory. No shields at all on Poppy and Caesar. So Eclipse is going to be the one who has to do the fighting, but wall to wall with like uncommon and AR, UCC, Cube, Nate, and Veil are just pushing them away.
Not really a lot you can do there. They're going to get taken down pretty low. Almost losing all their shields. They do. Nate actually going to go down, and a return elimination will come through from Cube. So you see a nice wide shot there. Sizer going to get a nice elimination, but not really going to be able to do a lot there. Cube is going to get tagged up immediately after. It's going to be Art there, running all the way in. His teammate's still up. He could go back for him if he has time, but his teammate, unfortunately, it looks like they're just going to have to go down. You're really going to have to disengage. Again, they have a launch pad. They can leave. You don't have to waste your launch pad this early. He's trying to run a game away, but honestly, not much you can do when the entire team is on you. You have that green tactical shotgun. You're going to put some damage down, but it's not going to be enough.
And the reality of the situation is, even if you use the launch pad, you don't have a way to kind of disengage from it afterward. You don't have a way to destroy it. They're just going to hop onto it right afterwards. So you're only really denying it away from, which I'm a huge fan of. Use that resource denial, but in this circumstance, it's rough. You don't necessarily want to start up the first game. They'll feel good about getting the 3 eliminations, but other than that, just having to sit there and then wait for that next queue, that's rough.
It is, especially when you think you have the jump on a team, and speaking of llamas, another one going to go over to Kane Knox for a tavern at 40R. Go ahead and just box it up. They'll get that chug cannon. Again, we mentioned the chug cannon because it's so impactful, but all of a sudden, wait a minute, there's another team on top of Kane Knox. He's going to go down. He didn't even see it coming. It's going to be Wave, Pool, and Quinn. And if any team needed a great start to today, it is them coming in 7th place. That is going to be so great to get max storm surge damage as well. Kane Knox is just trying to get a little bit of a loot llama, and they said, you know what, no, you're a little bit too close.
And it's not necessarily something we've seen as much with the pressure coming down on these llamas. Generally, in a lot of the regions, if you see people who are able to get on top of them, that's it. There hasn't been much contested. But now we're starting to see, getting into these games where manufacturing even just a little bit of a point difference, getting the one elimination, and most importantly in these circumstances, getting that exotic chug splash kit. It just increases the amount of utility, your ability to trade for surge. There's so much value in that. But if you're able to pick somebody off, get kind of the investment not only from the 2 points that comes from it, but all of the resources on top of it, it just puts you in such a good position. And now look at this rotation. They're going to be able to hit this cosmic chest, buddy chest, whatever you want to call it, get a nice little chance to roll a decent shot at loot, but more importantly, ammo.
Feel hot from it, and if you get a shotgun one and you at least get one of those epic or legendary pumps out of it, it's always going to be worth it to go for these, and we'll see what they actually end up pulling. It's going to be just a bunch of ammo and ARs, which all in honesty, they needed them. They needed different ARs there, some shields. Everything about that is worth going for if you have the time. It's never a bad time to go back for a cosmic chest if you have the ability in your rotation pack. Moving over to Arkham, Epic Whale, and Rex. If they are on their rotation, this is something they've done a lot better than in previous seasons. They've already started moving to the center of the map with those zones still just now moving it. They've learned a lot from season 4 and season 5, and they've adapted it every season since then.
And I mean, we've seen those circumstances in the previous finals where they struggled a little bit in Surge in those first couple of games, and it's because we talked about it before. They get so much respect out of what was Sweaty Sands now turning into the Lever's Beach. Nobody wants to come anywhere near them. You see the quick stat, which Kelly kind of alluded to on the top of the show. The lowest record trio that's been after day 1 is 3rd. So there's a little bit of a mythos here that they have this historically a slow start, but in reality, it's only really 1 or 2 games, and then they have that really big kind of marquee end game that they routinely put up. And yesterday, that was that 5th match, that victory royale with 15 eliminations they were able to pile on. Last season, it was the final 2 games they were just able to roll it out. And honestly, it feels like these guys are a little bit inevitable as we flip over to another fight. We got J Rose's regular Wavy Jacob picking up flicks and jot down. Talks about how long for this world either. He has 1 HP. He's possibly going to be able to trade out a little bit as he gets traded on regular. J Rose is just going to back off, but I mean, if Thompson wins this, it would be absurd.
That'd be a highlight and a half for years to come. No, unfortunately, gonna get taken down. At that moment, you're just trying to deny as much of the resources as you can. You know they're going to get all of your maps anyway, so might as well spend them. Use as much ammo as you can. Deny, again, it's resource denial. Deny anything you can from that enemy team pushing you. And honestly, this is one of the more aggressive games we've seen. Already down to 78 players, but Assange and I alluded to, you and I have alluded to the past. Watch that number. We'll probably go back up as reboot cards are big things here at NA West. They really like to go after them. You saw Chelsea right nearby, and they're setting up for a hold here.
Yeah, you can see that in the bottom right-hand corner. Jelty and his trio, they're the ones right on the other side. They were able to take away match number 1 yesterday. Then they fell to kind of the typical NA West function where after match 1, like 9 times out of 10, those trios have a really tough time following games and just seem not to be able to build any momentum. But Jelty is really far extended out here. I mean, he's straight up 1v1 with Lady Jacob with everyone else trying to rotate away. He does have a bonus speed boost, whether it's from a pepper or one of those spicy fish on. And you can see they're trying to make these guys at least rotate around, but they have so much ability in the form of the 6 peppers and the 3 that gets just on Wavy Jacob below. They got the car, they're going to be able to break line of sight, and they have no problem just taking their time with this, especially with the 3 eliminations on the board. Only 3 trios who are going to be pressured by Storm Surge. I mean, unless they really get chased down here, which Jelko are being pretty relentless.
If they have those parasites on their head, that they're going to be able to keep up with this in some shape of the board. They can keep rotating and cutting off regulators here with the wave because they say, no, we're going right into the water, we're swimming, we don't want any more of that. And Chelsea and them are going to have to disengage, going to have to realize, hey, it's not worth our time. Rotation is way better, and they see them, they end up getting some more tags their way. Which, in all honesty, while this is great for Chelsea, it's even worse for regular heroes the way to get it. Now, their rotation, their loop pad outside of it has just been cut in half, and now they're going to have to find a different way to move, drop down into Coral. We know it's a very aggressive player. Can't really be aggressive when they're running the zone.
And I think it's important to know that this is one of the just worst rotations in the game in terms of the available material going through here. Yes, there's some high value brick, but there's high value brick pretty much everywhere on the map. This area gets scavenged almost immediately, whether it's somebody who is landing on the kind of port pumping side of the map, or whether they're landing down in coral or over on the shark itself. There is just absolutely no loot. More importantly, you give up almost complete positional control to anybody who's on the interior of the map. Those sight lines are just wide open, so you can see why they were desperately trying to put as much space as possible, because if Jelty Chicken and Vale had won to prep that, they could have made things really awkward really fast.
Swap over to the opposite side of the zone. We'll see South there. Piston trying to cap out on all of their material team before they start facing up. And Sniper Shot going to come through. It's just barely going to miss. Storm Surge will pop. It will wait a second to see exactly if Falcon is just far below. Reed going to take some damage there, rotating back. Surprise, another trio that had it seems like a check in every single game was because they're very great at using it to get all of that damage, but if they're below Surge, Nico, Kaboo, and Red need to be very, very careful as I said, if they do end up having that cannon. They are above, and 265 should hold for now. They shouldn't be too worried about it. Moving to that next zone, they may need to get a
Yeah, we keeping an eye on that here as one thing, particularly when we're talking about Reed's team and we're talking about the early qualifiers, their inability to make it into those end-game situations and having trouble off spawn. That hasn't been the case so far. In their first 6 matches, they consistently were making it into those. The worst placements were their 13th and 12th, which was in matches 2 and 5, but they were still able to attack on some elims, which being with the +2 was very helpful there to see. Jelty and Co. I mean, this is the reason why they're pushing so aggressively. They're below Surge right now. It's 67 on the right-hand side. For those of you who are unfamiliar, just tuning in for the first time, whether it's in Party Royale or haven't seen Competitive Fortnite in a while, Storm Surge is a mechanic which kind of limits the number of players who are available in the lobby. The first one that ends up popping is in the 3rd zone, and it will do 25 damage every 5 seconds until we are down to 70 players. So you can see that's why there's a little bit of aggression coming out as Toxic ends up being picking up, and Unsightly puts a huge shot into Grim, and Grim is immediately going to get a discount down level. You can see everyone is kind of trying to clamber over to it, just like moths to an open flame. You hear the shot right around Storm Surge, and you think, can I get a cheeky elim? How many points can I be? But going all the way back to the Weeping Woods is just slay 2 FCSs ago. We've seen how quickly these mid-game fights can turn disastrous, as now all of a sudden we have 4 trios on top of each other in Pleasant Park.
Everyone wanted to be a part of this engagement. Jelty and Chicken going to get in there with Andy. They're going to box that player up. Are they going to get him? And Slightly will finally go down there. Andy going to get traded out. No, sorry, Chicken going to get traded out. Andy just there. We'll get that elimination credit, but can they get Chicken out? Going to throw him off the build. Maybe able to get out, but as you said, it turned terrible really quickly. Jelty down very low HP. Andy still nowhere to be found to fight. Chicken is down on the ground. Can't do anything more. Jelty going to finish this game. Does have that character to get there quickly. Has to be careful with the jump zone when they're rotating that way, because everyone's going to be looking at you, and I don't think they're going to be able to go for this revive here. Olaf and Red are going aggressive. Chicken has like 2 seconds left, and they're just going to have to let him take over. They can't play for that shot to go through. They are going to connect there for Jelty, but not enough damage being done. 25, 5, not enough. They need to find more.
But on the flip side of that, Olaf, Wiggly, and Rin are still taking shots from the other side. You saw that there's still more teams in Pleasant that are getting down. Luckily, that's baited a little bit, so they can potentially look compressed, but it's going to give Jelty at least enough time to pop that big pop potentially, but also take the med kit. He does still have that parasite, so it will take down. You can see the red outline just on the other side of that brick. There are 2 walls on the other side. Jelty might try to stick because they are right in his face right now.
Okay, luckily he was able to stick that, and now can get back into fighting. He's going to hit the wall. First try. There, not in his favor, though. He's going to lose all 50 shield, and he just popped back down about 112 HP there. Maybe it was a Transcend is going to keep pushing that white HP away. Wiggly, Olaf, and Red realize, you know what? We got that elimination. We got a lot of that loot. We don't need to keep fighting this. We can disengage. I do believe that it's been too long for that reboot card to be picked up by Jelty and Andy. Plus, Jelty was able to grab it early. It seems like maybe making the play for it, but I think there's no feeling it. It's just too much foul.
We've seen later reboots. We know it's NA West. You can already see that Andy is heading over. Yeah, they definitely have the reboot card. He's going to go stick. Yep. Right away. Like, why even question it? NA West, basically, the land of reboots is what they do. They get their teammates back on their feet. I think the clinical one was either 2 or 3 FNCS. No, it was definitely 2 FNCSs ago where we had that reboot. I think it was a 4th or 5th zone reboot, and other team ended up going on and winning. Going to go back and get the specific one, but hey, Chicken back up on his feet. You can see the shots coming down from one of those old Spires immediately. So, a little bit of those gatekeeping gargoyles on the inside right now. The question is, what can they do about this rotation? We know they had a ton of peppers. We know that there was at least a couple medkits around to be scavenged, but I'm not sure how many they were able to get. And Jelty trying to get a decent line and help give him a line of sight, and he's able to pretty much actually just walk right in. They got a relatively few path it.
Ooh, okay, a sigh of relief, they can breathe. They've got to be careful with it now being rebooted. Stormsurge will turn back on 71 players. Start hitting players again. Sancho said it well yesterday. When you reboot someone, it essentially is a different version of them. They're going to play a little bit differently, but it's also a different version of your trio. You have to be careful because you're investing so much to bring them back. Do you have enough mats, ammo, weapons to give them? Luckily that loot was right nearby, so he was able to grab his loot there, but it's still a very risky play, and we hop back over, and Snacky is still not up. Kenshi and Favs hanging out as a duo. Luckily, they're above Surge.
Yeah, and they're well above Surge, so they're not going to have to worry about this one. You can see this disengage immediately dropping down that side, and we talked about kind of breaking line of sight. You can utilize the player-made builds and kind of throw up walls, or you can utilize the natural geography of the map to create distance here. And you can see everyone else doing the rotation, but because they're going early and they have a relatively decent line, they should be okay. And you can see Kenji also sitting on that mythic pulse rifle, so if he is able to get a beat on somebody, that thing hurts.
Especially with the buff that it got a couple weeks ago. If you do 2 headshots, that's all your shield gone. And Kenshi, speaking of shield being gone, there it is go. A sniper shot going to come through, but once again, it's effectively negated. They have that truncated. But now that team is actually getting a little aggressive with triple arrows coming in. They want to go for it. Symmetrical, Elizzy, and Frappe setting up to cut them off. If they take them down right now, this would just be the cherry on top of the cake for Arkham, Epic, Whale, and Rex. Because if they get to the end game, they're allowed to pop off. That's first place.
Yeah, and you'll get just that immediate truncation on the top of the leaderboard. And it's talked about it being inevitable, and once they kind of get into that tournament management mode where all they have to do is hold on, it becomes so much more of a threat because you know they always had the capability of just dominating games from start to finish. If you've ever had an opportunity to go through, check out some of their, when they go through and post videos to the tournaments afterwards, listen to their communication. This is what makes this trio so freaking good. Their ability to just communicate out what they're looking for, when their rotations are, coordinating their fire, knowing when to split fire, knowing how to split resources, and then providing all of that experience and then knowing how to capitalize on it is something that they do better than nearly any other team. And let's just be honest, Clay, who else has played together this long at this high of a level? There's at least some roster mania in every other region. We see trios break up, disband, and go play with other people. These guys disbanding because they just want to play with each other one more time, right? They want to go get a little bit of the extra practice week. So it ends up building up, and now in a situation where they have a full trio, they have high ground control at that Spire, they're in a great spot, but it's somebody else in a great spot. Falconer picking up an Elin there. Let's not forget about them. The top 3 is pretty much decently separated so far, and they're all still up on their feet. In fact, only the 9th place trio has been eliminated. Otherwise, it's really been kind of the bottom of the board taken out so far.
And the only other trio I could think of was Edgy, Sinted, and Rex. And they also were dominant for so long in the West. And honestly, that was one of the reasons from Epic Whale didn't really have that dominating performance that they had in the past. And then Rex swapping over to their team when Sinjin and Edgy came over to NAEs. It's just been such a great performance for them. And look, Kenshi and Fab, though, they were able to grab an Elan there. Also, look at how much loot they're grabbing. That's a good 3 or 4 Elans worth of loot on the ground. Unfortunately, the team above did pick through it and already get a lot of the match, so they're not going to be able to that much. But still, up from 39 builds to 55, able to build out a nice little base for themselves. Hey, they're not going to complain.
No, it's going to give them a ton of extra real estate to work with. And in this situation where you're a duo, sometimes it's just about making it to the next stage and having an option to make a play. Yes, obviously you want to be a full trio, you want to be hit if you have that ability. But if you're just able to kind of continue progressing through the game, just having a strong duo gets better over the course, because obviously people are going to be chipped out. See Andy getting the confirmed on to clutch there below 47 players, 20 trios still up. So we're inside that first place in threshold, but still need 3 trios to go down before we get that next plus 2 points, getting the cascading. Rex picks up a knock on Chicken right away. And you see confirmation also coming down to the assist of Grim and Reeton Co. But hey, Clay, this is what we talked about. They made it into the end game. And at some point, Reed is going to pop off. He's going to have that monstrous game. He's capable of doing it. We saw it against FCF. And Rex, though, on the other side, also very much capable of doing it.
Anytime I see Rex with a shotgun like that, I know he's going to be hitting those shots. He's going to put the damage down. He's got some of that shotgun aim comparable over to EU with Saban and his shotgun aim. Rex can hit ridiculous shots when it matters the most. And we talk about how they need to stay together in the end game, but this is one of the real teams. It doesn't really matter if they're alive together in the end game, as long as they're there. Because they can operate so well on a solo performance outside. They'll find each other, they'll get back in some way or another, and they will pop off. But Caleb's outside and wheels. Early have secured that high ground, and we know in NA West, high ground will usually win you the game. But these finals, it has been challenged multiple different times.
Yeah, we've been seeing a little bit more aggression going through because people are like, oh, hey, well, if we can go and we can get it. NA West doesn't typically challenge high ground, but if everybody has that reasoning, then all of a sudden you end up with 2 or 3 teams up there who maybe aren't always used to being up there. And you can see Kenshi picking up a knock on the Jagger there, and all of a sudden, hello, they have 5 eliminations, even rocking out as the duo Fabsy, just doing his best to try and make room for Kenshi right now. You can see Andy on the backside of the zone also just trying to push through and get the additional placement points up on the high ground shots, raining down, but nobody really super established up there. You see Falconer picking up a knock on the regulator over on the side. We are going to have just a brief moment of surge here. We'll need one more player to go down, but it should be happening relatively quick. Kenshi on the backside of the zone, super close to being out of build. CC, 4, it's going to be down to 3 here in a second. If they push through here, they want to break in the backside of the target. You see Kytruck's being taken down. Surge still hammering away with the front side of the zone. Wavy Jacob and his trio, Rex, Epic Whale, and Arkham hip to hip. Who's up on the high ground? Raphael, Lithian, symmetrical. We're able to rip it away in that 6-zone rotation. Here we go. In the end game, as Solution Rodrigo is taken out on the backside of the zone. So does Kenshi, so does Olaf. So it's all going to be onto Babsy as he's trying to push through. DC just picks up 2 eliminations though. So regardless, they're going to be happy with it as they've now picked up a total of 7 going through. He's able to get the top 10 performance, but will fall.
How many points can Arkham, Epic Whale, and Rex catch up to, though? That is the question. They were already looking at high ground and shooting him out. They could go for him just based on having more materials, but they're going to drop down. They're going to low ground where they operate. And honestly, the best out of anybody here, but so the Falconer, Chris, and Reed, they are going down. Rex is unfortunately going to fall there now on the shoulders of Epic Whale and Arkham. What can they do? Can they find it? They got a lot of mats. They've got a lot of builds to work with, but they're going to have to start to drop down. Nice shots there. That's going to be Reed going down. 3rd place, getting taken out by 2nd right now. Epic Whale trying to find Falconer, trying to find Chris, but that on-2 Reed was so good. That is the playmaker there. That is who they need to take out right on the other side of the wall, though. Got to be careful. That's Falconer going down. Chris trying to make something happen, but Epic Whale says, hey, 1st place is out. We're 2nd. Let's just take out 3rd right now. That's Falconer going down. Look at Elam after Elam coming through. No build. He's back into the box. Shots coming through. He's going to go down, but he gets a lot of damage off.
That's monstrous, and you can see now Arkham down on the ground, just trying to continue pushing through. Knows that placement point take over as players on the backside of the zone are taking out, but unfortunately he goes down and still up on the high ground. Symmetrical crap right now, literally just raining shots. You can see backside of the zone, Perkin trying to play a little bit of a heel off, just continue pushing through. As now we have a 3v3 kind of, as Biscuit barely has any HP on the bottom part of the zone, and just look at this, 7 elims working from the top down. Hurtin though, going for a cheeky play, but Olympi is aware of it. He slaps that one down. We're gonna get a straight up 3v3 here. Goes off match number 7.
So they don't have the heal advantage like you talked about. Mexico up there does have the mech kit and the chuck cannon onto Olympi. They have 7, 8 eliminations. Olympi going down wants to make sure they should get that heal off. So we'll send Frappe and Symmetrical down just to make sure they're just spraying out. They're trying to win this based off of full aggression. Shots come down. Olympi gonna drop down, get 1. His teammate's gonna get the rest. 7 eliminations for Olympi. They pick up the overall victory royale with 11. And what a great win. Symmetrical needed that come through because I talked about it in the past. He's a snowball player. If he can get a good game under his foot, it's going to be hard to stop him.
Yeah, and that momentum rolling through a 52-point game. Kick off day number 2. You have 5 more matches. We're talking about how you only have a top 3 who is super established, but all of a sudden, boom, they kick the door with a performance like that. Let's kick it on over to Z. Kelly, Panda, take it away.
Okay, I low-key lost my mind there watching that drop down. I'm glad no one like a fool losing my